We're live.
All right.
Can you guys hear us? Please let us know.
Both of
'Cause
us.
we are using a different mic than I usually do. What we got here? Bottle Cap says it finally rained in Austin, making everyone drive like pure ass today. I did not drive today, but it did rain.
It did rain.
And it is finally a reasonable temperature in Austin.
So I'm led to understand.
Yeah, it's
Brutal on Friday.
Yeah, when Nick got in, it was 107.
Thankfully, no longer the case.
Yeah, and as you can see, we are in the same place.
That's right.
And I don't know if you want to give them an update on the mission from God.
The mission from God. The mission from God in this time and in this place. So we just locked down some habitational requirements here. Very soon, you may see more of us.
Right.
We'll see
more of us.
The same location.
Yeah.
In living color, if you will.
I'm gonna check the stream and just make sure I can hear some sound here. Yeah. Cool.
Good.
We can
both be heard.
Nice. We can both be heard because none of you responded in the comments like we asked you to. It's okay. I know you guys can't read or write, so I don't blame you for that. Love Fist says, can't wait.
Nice. Nor can we.
Good afternoon, gents and Gith lover. Get Yankee Stanky. Get the mic closer. It's a little hard. We're kind of...
That should do it.
Yeah, that's about as close as we can get it.
But it should do.
Yeah. Get the mic. Get closer to the mic. That's what he said. Not get the mic closer. Same thing. Yeah. Is this better? Oops. Cool.
I'm sure it's fine. Yes.
Someone should let us know.
Yes.
Nick brought the rain. Yeah. I don't know why. YouTube
delay.
Yeah, there's like a delay on StreamYard for getting the comments.
Yeah, and of course, having been in Austin since Friday. True convert, drinking my La Croix out of my Buc-ee's thermos, wearing my Buc-ee's merch shirt.
Yeah.
And regretting nothing.
Nor should you. Sounds good. That's what we want to hear.
Excellent.
Good evening. Rocking the Buc-ee's shirt, I see. The food there is so good. That is true.
Yes.
We got
and the coffee. The coffee was good, which is very, very important.
And the cool thing is that since Buc-ee's is a very unique place, you can buy hunting supplies, morale patches. The morale patches in particular, if you put that on your range bag or on your plate carrier or whatnot, when you get into that desperate firefight where you are fighting for what matters, you can always look at the morale patch and remember what it is you're fighting for.
That's right.
And that is brisket sandwiches.
Yes.
Oh, Shauner had his volume low. We've made that mistake. I've made that mistake several times and had Nick troubleshooting his sound when really the problem was me.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anyhow, we've been hanging out for the last week or so.
Yeah. Ideas cooking.
Lots of ideas cooking.
Yes.
Oh my God. Butt Quack already with the super chat. We'll just wait for it to come up in StreamYard so we can highlight this. $4.99. Oh my goodness. Our audience is amazing. No, not while I'm at work. How could you do this to me? Unsubscribed.
Why are you working?
Yeah, why are you working, man?
Yeah.
You need to change your schedule because we do this stream at the exact same time not every Thursday, but almost every Thursday. Yeah. But we do, as always, very much appreciate your hard-earned cash.
Very much so.
We will not waste it.
No.
Yeah, but we've been hanging out for the last week or so. And in the lead up to this trip, like we said, Nick was out. He's out here looking for a place, and we're going to things are cooking.
Yeah, about to hit the acceleration, hit the gas.
Really, really about to hit the accelerator. It's awesome. Big way. But previous to this, we've both been cooking up ideas for games for like a long time. Like the game I'm starting to work on right now, I'm like starting a design document and everything for it, is something that it's a setting I've wanted that I ran a one shot in that Nick was in. That's how we met.
Yeah.
Like a decade ago. and the ideas behind it have kind of crystallized, as well as Nick's working on a game of his own.
A lot of groundwork.
Yeah.
The core identity.
Yeah.
The themes, the structure of it has really, really come together.
Yeah.
This week
we had like this kind of creative fever pitch, like,
which always happens.
Maybe it was like Friday or Saturday, but where we like really got some stuff well defined, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And I can't wait. It's going to take a long time though, because we're gonna do it right. But we got games in the works. It also actually helped clarify more about the first project that that we announced about our Golems project, which is now will be the first in the series of Monsters from the Black Lodge. Yes. The Book of Golemnic Terror, or something along those lines. The subtitle's still being worked on, but Monsters from the Black Lodge will be an ongoing series of interesting monsters that you can bring into your fantasy game.
Setting agnostic, or system agnostic.
Yeah, system agnostic. Will need to be used in fantasy settings.
Right.
And you can probably drop them into most fantasy settings, but it's, maybe not Muppet Atlantis, but
nothing works there.
Yeah. But we could, but it's going to be really cool. We really kind of drilled down on the nature of what this beast is.
Right.
And I'm really, really pumped. But yeah, it's been a long week. We got a whole lot of creative stuff done. And I've done just a lot of chilling out and watching movies too, which has been great. Yeah. And I can't wait till Nick lives here.
Very soon.
Yeah, very soon. And I can't wait for all of my upcoming fall travel to be over as well, because that will be a nightmare.
Gift of gas.
Gift of gas. Butt Golem
will not be appearing in the project, but do what you want.
The anal golem attack.
Just wait for the latest monster manual in 5th edition. I'm sure that'll be in there.
Right. Yeah. So how are you guys doing? What is going on out there in YouTube land?
Yeah.
What games are you playing? What games are you excited about? What are the types of things that you're looking forward to? We got coming up this Saturday will be the first session of my Wretched role-playing game, Wretched Epoch, which I'm super pumped about. We did character creation 2 weeks ago, because we play generally every other week. Nick's going to be here helping kick that session off, which is going to be fucking rad.
Oh, yes.
The characters that we have made so far, we have a kind of a politician, high society, complete psychopath. This guy is this is a female player, by the way, who came up with this. He's basically has homicidal mania is one of the flaws that she took, one of the drawbacks that she took out of the book. So this guy is a psychopathic sadist, who beats people to death in his mansion.
Typical player character behavior.
Yeah, exactly. We have another kind of an underworld figure, not high society, a alcoholic gambler who has been a compatriot of this person for quite a long time. He's kind of their contact to the actual underworld, whereas he's more moving and shaking in high society in Paris. We have a American covert agent who is in Paris basically to track down an operative that they have lost contact with, as well as a adventure writer, someone who's going on steamboat journeys and traveling through Africa and writing about all of their exciting adventures that they have, and is a complete celebrity who is utterly destitute and broke, who also happens to be a complete fraud. His stories are not true. So it's going to be a pretty wild mix of people. I'm really pumped. This is going to be a dark horror game, and I've got some really cool ideas to kick that off. Inspired by the material in Wretched Epoch. So
great setting.
It's so good. It's so good. There's Like, you can't play that game and not come up with a good idea for a game. The number of antagonists and different factions and just weird stuff in that game is
all the stuff going on, even just straight historical events which are current at that time.
Yeah.
Again, we've talked about, what have we talked about? Cyberpunk and Vampire a lot being settings which generate their own drama, their own conflicts, and this as well is definitely one of them.
Yeah. So we got Golem Muppets and Poop Golems. Finally just released new episode 10. New episode 10 minutes ago. Nice.
Excellent.
We will definitely watch that after this. Games. Just finished Baldur's Gate 3. Nice. I just got to Act 3 last time I played, which was like 2 weeks ago. I have limited myself to playing one time a week because it's like throw your life away.
Yeah.
Like
which is great. I mean, it's awesome. It's been like over 10 years
minimum.
Minimum since a video game has come along that makes me want to know life that way.
Yeah, it's amazing. Running Dark Sun via Savage Worlds every other Saturday. Nice. Very cool. Yeah, that seems like a match made in heaven.
Excellent.
Yeah. We've been talking about a lot of different games as well. We read a lot. Didn't read a lot, but we watched a lot of stuff related to like World of Darkness games and Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
Trying to kind of hone in on, what really made these things different, and what's happened to the, to Onyx Path and White Wolf, unfortunately.
How the mighty have fallen.
Yeah. They kind of were like.
They always were what they are.
Yeah, of course. In terms of their gross worldviews and politics and whatnot, that has it just allowed them to go, post 2015. It has allowed them to indulge in that, and it seems pretty clear that their sales have suffered significantly because of it. Like, we were looking, Matt Dawkins' recent Kickstarter barely cleared its 20K goal, and their more recent one that just is happening right now, I think it's like maybe $10,000 over its
something like that.
Its stated goal,
10K,
which is
10.5.
Which is good. It's a success.
It's a success.
Yeah, it's not to diminish that, but it's in comparison to the $1 million that they were doing for some games, or the $500,000, $250,000 for some games. So it's
not a sustainable option,
right?
I would say. I mean, I don't know. Last time I was here, I was looking at their Monday on the website. They give a breakdown of where all of their projects are, from pre-production to final fulfillment, and there's very little that is not. There's very little that was in production apart from fulfilling previous stretch goals and old Kickstarters, other than generating new like ready-made character packages, which is easy. That's not really content.
I know, that's like a weekend.
Yeah, a weekend,
and
how much sales are you going to get from that? You do one and that's it.
Right.
So
I don't want to play ready-made characters anyway.
And I don't want to play any of Onyx Path's games because they're all terrible.
Because they suck now.
They suck and they're boring.
Yeah.
They're boring, or they're well, we'll just say they're not good.
They're bad. Yeah.
They're bad.
It's and it's a damn shame, because like we were saying, like the Onyx Path and White Wolf were really I think the most important companies in terms of making the immersive style role-playing games.
Yeah.
And that's, evidenced by, we were looking at some of the vampire LARPs. There was one in Austin that was held a couple of years ago. Actually, one was last year.
Yeah.
They're taking a break this year, but there was like a giant immersive vampire LARP that looked like rad.
Like actually dark and brutal and about a specific experience, a specific event. You have to be sort of all in on what this thing is about, and it is Sabbat and it is vampire, so it's nothing kind.
Yeah.
To say the least.
There's people getting like disemboweled and all sorts of really cool, fun stuff.
Right.
But both of those companies, White Wolf, I think, is probably doing a little bit better. At least it seems that way. People are at least playing Vampire Fifth Edition.
Yeah. And LA by Night. Say what you will about the Critical Role format. I haven't watched it religiously by any means,
they
but
have some of the Critical Role cast
good.
members on it. Yeah, but it is good.
It is good. People are role playing, and it is a good presentation of a vampire setting. And they are the ones who have the rights, and they are doing still releasing products for Vampire. They just released Werewolf 5th edition. I really hope that they do Mage. I didn't care for the 5th edition of Werewolf, but I've never cared for Werewolf the Apocalypse. We've talked. We'll have to talk about that specifically at some point, because on the one hand, they succeeded with the 5th edition of Werewolf in cementing an identity of what the player character is. It's just nothing that I'm interested in. So whatever,
the art in Werewolf 5 is
quite good,
phenomenal. Yeah, it's really good,
and it's of a unified thematic style.
Yes,
so it's not just good art, but it's good art that fits a setting and fits a particular, it fits the theme, right?
Yeah.
So, but you're right. White Wolf really brought that Promethean fire to the people, and Onyx Path, after what was it, 2004 or something like that, where the Final Nights and Gehenna and all those, the line wound down.
Yeah. So after,
and Onyx Path held the flame
in the 2010s. Yeah, because I think they formed, had to have been after 2008, 2009.
For like the first edition of Requiem, etc.
Well, Requiem first edition was still White Wolf. Onyx Path.
Really, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Onyx Path and the company's logo appeared on White Wolf products and their message board in early 2012. So so it was 2010s when that happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, they so basically, like, White Wolf, I think basically went belly up. They got bought by Paradox Entertainment, which was going to make an MMO for World of Darkness, and that they got
bought out by.
Oh no, they got
who does
Eve? Yeah, it was the people who did Eve first, and that basically killed the company. This was also when publishing was circling the drain as an industry, and they tried to do the MMO with that company. Yeah, it fell through. It didn't. Never saw the light of day.
Then Paradox.
Then Paradox bought them.
And then in 2018 they released V5.
Right. And so in 2012, when Onyx Path gets formed, that takes Rich Thomas and a couple of the other people who had been with White Wolf for a very, very long time. They create their own independent company, and they become licensed publishers of the various game lines that they basically helped create at White Wolf.
Right.
So they were able to publish things like Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition, all the 20th Anniversary editions for those. The second edition of New World of Darkness, which they had to rename Chronicles of Darkness because of licensing disputes.
Right.
So that included Vampire the Requiem, Werewolf the Forsaken, Mage the Awakening, all of those. And for a good while, they were making really good stuff. You could see the cracks in it with things like what happened with Exalted. But they at least, there was a couple of really amazing games that they made during that time period.
Yeah, we've talked about Requiem, but a second edition Requiem. I'm sure I have talked about Promethean, which is my favorite of the New World of Darkness line, which was totally new. There's no real equivalent in Old World of Darkness.
Right. Nothing. No analog. It was a very original game. Demon the Descent. I never played it, but Dark Sun seemed to almost capture fantasy of the 1980s.
Yeah. I've never played a Dark Sun game, but I've always wanted to.
It's a pretty cool setting. I remember very little of it. I knew more about it back in the dark times with AD&D second edition. What do we got here? Come on, show the comment. Oh, I clicked on that already. Whoops. That's why it wasn't doing it. I only have firsthand experience with Requiem First Edition, but the Second Edition is also good, right?
Much better.
It's actually way better.
Yeah.
It's it really stands on its own. It's a phenomenal game.
The identity is really its own thing,
right,
in Second Edition.
The mechanics, outside of the social mechanics, the mechanics are great. I reread the social mechanics recently, and I really don't like them.
Yeah.
But the rest of it, it's like they fixed the physical disciplines. Like they're way better. They fixed Predator's Taint. Like they basically all of the things that sucked in Requiem First Edition they fixed, and it's awesome. And again, it's like it's a game that is dedicated to putting over that immersive style,
personal horror.
Yeah, personal horror,
especially.
gothic horror.
Yeah.
And it is. We were talking about this, like Requiem. Like a lot of these games are getting ruined by all these woke people, and to be fair, Requiem Second Edition lead developer is like crazy woke person, but this was released before Trump. This was released before the culture war really boiled over into this like insanity that we have now, and so it was still just like make a really high quality game. And all of these other games like Vampire 5th Edition and Werewolf 5th Edition. Every WotC product, is now basically just like propaganda or like religious pamphlets for progressivism. With like a game hidden in there sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And one of the good things about Requiem is that it didn't sell very well, from what I understand, because they're not making any more products for it. They're never going to get a third edition out of that game. There's not enough interest. And so it is saved by that because the game they're never going to dig that up and ruin it.
No.
And so that's a very, very good thing. What would good fantasy of the 21st century look like?
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Is the answer.
Yeah.
But
I would like a clarification on this question. Do you mean good fantasy written in the 21st century or like set in the 21st century? Because those are two very different questions.
Yeah. Either way, stay tuned. But
either way, yeah. We have things such sights to show you. Butt quack. Sorry I was late to the session, guys. Can we rewind to the beginning? No, my character wouldn't have done that. Press the X card. Press the X card. Yeah, and that's the other thing is when we say that White Wolf and Onyx Path have been like basically ruined by these people. We watched a video on safety tools by the Onyx Path women.
Rough.
It was so much worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Because we're thinking about we're gonna make a video about safety tools and how this is ridiculous and blah 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 blah. And it was really going to be kind of like not combative. Like it was really just going to be kind of like a good faith explanation of like why this is ridiculous and why you shouldn't trust these people.
Right.
And after watching this, it's like Allahu Akbar, fucking like this is crazy. Like this will not stand.
Yes.
These people are monsters. And it's not going to be a nice video.
Nor should it be. Because these are not nice people.
Right.
To put it very mildly.
Very mildly.
An incredibly evil philosophy. It's not just we watched a video by Pundit talking, and he brought up some good points.
Mm-hmm.
But
he brought up the same points we did, but way too diplomatically.
Oh yeah, because this is not.
And he missed a couple that we're going to make. Yeah.
Yeah. This is not just an inconvenience to the hobby or inconvenience to your gaming table. This is a existential threat to you and your families.
Essentially.
Yeah.
Look, 5e Vampire is fine mechanic wise, but it's just too woke, man. I can't imagine Werewolf will be better. 5th edition. I was thinking 5th edition D&D for some reason. I don't know why. Even though I do like Werewolf 20, ironically.
So I'll say this about V5 because I've run V5.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, haven't played in it, but I've run a bunch of games with it. I do like a lot I like almost all of it, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
And this is, I would characterize the state of White Wolf and V5 in particular as a legitimately good faith attempt by people who indeed are woke leftists for sure. But it was initially about, let's take this game seriously. Let's make this a dark, immersive experience, and sort of come what may. And the woke mob did not and could not accept that, and sabotaged a truly good faith attempt to bring something that is good and beloved by a massive number of people, and almost destroy it. And the Paradox, the corporation, bent the knee and did what corporations do, and
submissively urinated in front of all of them, and just apologized. People, I don't know if it was a direct result, but the people who were like the good faith actors are not there anymore, essentially. At least one of them. I don't remember that guy's name, but he was great. Like, I remember like when he was first announcing.
Yeah, his name was like Matthias something, was the creative director.
Yeah.
Initially.
Like, you could tell he absolutely loves the game. Just loves it.
Yeah.
So
and I've met him and a number of those other people several times at conventions. I think I've said before, I ran V5 at Gen Con, for the Gen Con where V5 was being released. Super nice, interesting people to talk to, and it really pisses me off that these evil scum
who were never going to play the game.
Who were never going to play the game. They hate the game. They hate excellence, as we've said before.
Yeah.
They took something that was good and they tried to destroy it. And fortunately, it seems like they haven't. Yeah. I would not characterize V5 even as it is now as irreparably woke or irreparably compromised. Yes, just like anything new that is created by a company in the current age, it is going to be tarnished somewhat by the message.
Yeah.
You can't get away from that. We've said before, nothing is going to be pure, which is unfortunate, but it is the world and the time that we're living in. And I because the mechanics, because the setting, and because I met these people who were at the helm of the creative direction, really did it with good and pure intentions. That redeems a lot of it for me. It is not as bad. It's not nearly as bad as your Coyote and Crows or whatever the nonsense in 5th edition is. Your magical wheelchair and all the bullshit.
Yeah, the combat wheelchair.
And all of these things. So I would not despair. I would really recommend you give it a shot, or give it a look, and you still have Requiem 2nd edition, which I would recommend. Even if you like V5 or old VTM, still check out Requiem 2nd edition.
It's so good. Yeah. Did you see the new D&D finger puppets? I did not.
I did not.
I wonder what this is.
Do we want to?
D&D finger puppets. Curse of Strahd finger puppets. That's December 2020.
Okay.
Maybe he's just yanking our chain.
Maybe.
If you're not yanking our chain, let us know.
I mean, I can
or
see
don't.
it. Yeah. I can already see it in my mind's eye.
Oh, another super chat from Buckquack. Ever heard of Rudy the Bear Gangrel?
Yes, he is a
Grawl. No, the Grawl was the werewolf, the werebear.
He is some kind of lore character. I'm not big on the vampire meta plot, but I do know Rudy is one of the lore sheets, or is involved in one of the lore sheets, which you can sort of attach or purchase. It's basically like a merit on your character sheet. It's sort of how to tie aspects of the setting or the meta plot, if you want to use the meta plot, or certain characters from the meta plot, like Theo Bell or Rudy, or can't remember if Lucida is a lore sheet or not. But anyway, I have heard of him. I don't know much about him though.
Yeah. Primeval Fantasy has a question for us. Your RPG design. A useful move to make early on is establishing a touchstone mission statement addressing this is the specific experience we want this game to generate and how we try to do it. Yeah. This is exactly what we've been talking about, actually. Yeah. And that's been the kind of thing that, like for this setting in particular, the one that I've been working on, there was a lot of like, I had an idea, a cool idea for the world, but like we've said with Vampire, Cyberpunk, these games that we really like, there's something about the world itself that just drives your character into action. There is some driving force, and like I hadn't nailed that down, and we finally did. Yeah. And so yes, that is we spent a lot of time talking about what is it that we want to do with this, because we were kind of thinking we feel like we hit the bedrock of what there is to offer in the OSR when we descended into Muppetlantis with our last episode. And what we mean by that is basically like there was a bunch of stuff, there are a lot of really novel ideas in the OSR and from old school gaming that have kind of been lost, that are interesting and that are good. And we were interacting basically exclusively with OSR people on Twitter and on YouTube. And so we were kind of thinking for a while, maybe we make these like OSR products, like when we were just kind of shooting ideas around, and we have come to the conclusion that would be a horrible mistake, and not because the OSR is bad. And it would certainly be financially lucrative, more lucrative as you can be within the tabletop RPG space. But right. But it's not what we are not OSR gamers. We're not OSR people. We've said that basically from the beginning many times. And I think it's been clear since we argue with these people all the time. But it's just that style of gaming, the procedural style of gaming, is not at all what attracts us to this hobby. Yeah. We like the immersive experience. There's a dearth is an absence, right?
Yes.
There's a dearth of immersive role-playing games right now.
Yes.
Or at least there may be some out there, but they're not as dominant and popular as they used to be. And that is real. Like we were looking online, we're like, maybe like, because we were looking at some of these immersive vampire LARPs, and we're like, we should check one of these out. I bet there's one in Austin. And it's like, nope.
No, which is astonishing.
Astonishing to me. Yeah. Like, because this is like, keep Austin weird. And it's like, no, there's no Camarilla Club or whatever it's called. It's not Mind Sci Theater either. It's it's something Enigma Society, Modern Enigma Society or something. It's whatever the Camarilla Club turned into. Not active in Austin. So we're like, okay, that sucks.
Yeah.
But we kind of really clarified what we were thinking about in terms of the core experience, and what we get out of these games is fundamentally different than the typical OSR gamer. Like these are essentially like, they are games, but the win condition for us is the immersive experience. It's correct. The role play that generates the immersive experience is its own reward. That's what we want. It is that first, right? And it is a game second. That is unapologetically our position on it, right? Which is clearly not the case for a lot of the OSR crowd. Yeah, they have very different goals and very different ideas of what they like at the table and what they find rewarding from these games. And we were like, it would be a tragic mistake to go in that direction when making our games. Correct. Because go ahead. I was gonna say it. I'll go ahead. I was gonna say, and we do plan on probably porting some of this stuff over into like, system agnostic settings for that could be compatible in an OSR style and stuff like that. But that is secondary and will be farther down the line than our mission, which is to create, the best immersive games within certain genres that we possibly can, and things that are going to be honestly fairly original, which is awesome. Like I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's two things we've been talking a lot about this week. One, you covered, and your Primeval Fantasy you correctly identify as a very important starting point. What is the experience that you want? And as you said, Matt, it's an immersive experience. What exactly are we trying to do, and how do we make that happen? And then second, these games, these settings especially, how are they meaningfully different? And not because, yes, indeed, you can have an immersive experience in Faerun, in the Forgotten Realms, or in, I don't know, Greyhawk or whatever.
Or in a homebrew setting that you've made for something like OSE. That is absolutely possible. You can do that.
Yeah, but if we are going to do something, we have very strong opinions, clearly, on a lot of things. How are we presenting them in a way which is very different? What are we...
Right.
We don't want to just, and we're not going to recapitulate Forgotten Realms. These are just new... The same kingdoms with different names, the same races with slightly different names or a slightly different aesthetic, the same bland, vapid presentation of religion and of magic with different names. That has been done ad nauseum. It sucks, and it's the market is oversaturated.
It's oversaturated, but
and it doesn't need to be. Actually, it can be, because that's trash. We are not making trash. So how? What are we doing that's different? So keeping ourselves to a very high standard.
Right, and basically just making sure that, like, I mean, there's a million BX clones out there. There's a million generic fantasy settings.
Yeah, we're basically doing the same
sort of thing.
Again, a different world with a different name, a different coat of paint.
Right. And we wanted to make sure to find something actually different to do. And this doesn't mean we're coming up with totally original mythology that is going to be the best thing that has come in humankind. But it was about identifying what are these things fundamentally getting wrong about their worlds?
Correct.
And how do we do this our way? At least that was more the goal for yours. Since yours is fantasy, and mine is definitely
a lot more unique. I'm not aware. There are certain games which approach it, but
there will be things that people can point to as obvious influences in certain areas,
which is the same with anything.
Which is the same with anything, but. But mine is more of a sci-fi thing, and it's going to be very different, I think, in the presentation of the world, which I'm very excited about.
Correct.
And we had, like I said, it was fucking lightning struck a bunch of times. We came up with, we just clarified a bunch of stuff. We're basically at the point where we're both okay, when we get home, we can start writing.
Exactly.
we can start. When you have a good idea, write it down. You can forget.
Always remember Dungeon Master David Lynch.
Yeah.
He is your light in the darkness.
Right. World of Darkness. Mage the Ascension is the most interesting to me, but the metaplot and crazy rules make me hesitate. Also, it could easily become ideology the battleground if you have the wrong play group.
Yeah. Probably with a lot of play groups. Mage the Ascension is incomprehensible to me. I've never played it, never ran it, which is unfortunate because I've always found wizards and magic to be the most interesting things in settings which grab my attention. But I agree. I don't care for the meta plot. I know less of the meta plot in Mage than I do with Vampire, which is already very limited.
Mhm.
I also don't like. I think it's a very '90s conceptualization of, like you say, warring ideologies, science and technology versus magic and mysticism.
Mhm.
I think there's a much more interesting, nuanced, and creative way to do that. But also that conflict seems very boring and dumb to me.
Yeah. I've never read Mage: The Ascension. I've read probably the first 100 pages of first edition of Mage: The Awakening. Back when I was like getting kind of interested in it a very long time ago, but I never finished it. Are you sure they were women? Referring to the Onyx Path panel that we watched.
Yeah.
Yes, I am positive. Not only simply based on, the power of my senses, but only women could come up with something so crazy.
Yeah.
It is a full attempt at female dominance in the hobby, in terms of just how games, conflicts, everything is resolved. It is ludicrous.
Yeah, a perversion of how you see yourself,
literally everything.
and literally anyone and everything around you.
Yeah,
in the worst way possible.
I'm excited to make this video about it. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun,
and not fun in a way that they think is fun.
It was legitimately infuriating.
Yes,
watching this, I did not anticipate getting angry at it, but we did not play the X card. We watched the whole fucking thing.
Yeah,
it was
horrific.
Who the hell is the Oompa Loompa?
Yeah.
Lol, he set up straight. He is straight up orange right now. I'm assuming he's like the Italian American version of going Super Saiyan.
Yeah.
I think me. Oh yeah. Yeah, you're a little more swarthy than I am.
Yeah. I don't have as much Irish genes in me.
Yeah, you have the
more Mediterranean has bled through.
Yeah. 21st century question. What would good fans... Okay, here we go. Yeah, referring to the other question. What would good fantasy written in the 21st century be like? I'm trying to merge modern science with things of the past. Think Thor as a fourth dimensional being, but I want to push it more.
It's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer that springs to mind. So yeah, so that sounds sort of like urban fantasy. I mean, I don't like. I know people don't like the rules. I'm not familiar with the rules. Shadowrun, maybe. I don't know how. I know it's a very storied game. People didn't like it, but I loved the movie Bright.
Oh yeah, I love Bright.
That was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, those are both the same thing. Bright is basically a Shadowrun movie.
I like a distinction between science and magic. I don't like the idea that like the Asgardians, like in the Marvel movies, they're just like technologically advanced.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I like magic as a supernatural force.
Yeah.
Something that cannot be explained with a microscope or a telescope.
Right.
Yeah.
With equipment, with materialistic means.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, that's but that's an interesting challenge. I don't think. What was I reading? I was reading something on Twitter the other day. I forget who made this point or started this thread. There was a term coined by Douglas Adams, which I don't recall. It was like Z rustic or something. The idea being that it was more, I think, of initially applicable to science fiction, where you have wondrous, nigh magical technological progress set in a world, but the second and third order effects on a societal and civilizational level are not accounted for or considered. An example was brought up of the Star Trek communicator. You have a post-scarcity world, for all intents and purposes, instantaneous communication, faster than light travel, replicators, holodecks, and yet in the shows, all of the interaction is done face-to-face. And we already, with the technology we have now, that is not, people still speak face-to-face, but you're ubiquitously interacting with Zoom and TikTok and Teams messages, phone calls, text messages, all of these things, and there's no consideration that you're using communicators and all of these scientific what would you call them? You're using technology as the foundation for the most basic forms of communication, mm-hmm. and the overwhelming amount of communication, which is inherently opens up the threat and is implicitly it brings up matters of surveillance and things of that nature, and they're just not talked about.
Yeah.
So having a 21st century world, I'm assuming you mean one somewhat like our own, but with fantasy elements, really consider how that would drastically shape things. Like in Shadowrun, as I understand it, or if I recall, the world basically progressed like our own until fairly recently. And there was an event and magic was thrust on the world. And now there's these different races and species and magic and all of these things. If that is the case, the world is going to look different, because that's a tremendously chaotic and tumultuous mm-hmm. Event. There's, I would imagine, a almost apocalyptic level of strife and chaos and confusion. If the world has always had these fantasy elements and now we're sort of up to the current day, surely the technology is going to look very different than what it looks like now, because certain things would be better and more efficiently accomplished with magical means. So I don't know. That's an interesting question and a great challenge.
Yeah, I feel bad for all the punk rock libs getting steamrolled by woke libs in both the RPG space and other spaces. At least the punk rock libs believe in aspirationalism of a sort.
I think I disagree.
Yeah, I think I disagree as well, but
I can't stand the punk mindset.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah,
they're less insufferable and less evil. They're more innocent in so many ways.
Yeah.
The punks just thinking, I'm going to fight against the man, and it's
right. But I mean, it's like they were on board with everything until these people went just farther past their level of comfort.
Yep.
In the direction of left, and like they want the revolution to just be rewound to the moment right before that, and that's as far as it should go.
Yep.
And that's not how.
It's not how it works.
It's just not how it works. It will never stop. The left will march left farther and farther and farther, because that is the core of what it is.
Yeah. The mission never ends.
The mission never ends. Bottle cap, careful, man. That sounds a little Marvel-esque. Mixing classic myth too much with sci-fi often robs the charm out of both. I agree. Yeah. It's difficult. It's a fine line.
It's a fine line. It can be done, though.
Can be done well if you're careful enough. True. Very true statement by Buttquack.
Mm-hmm.
I know who's met Rudy the Bear, Esteren. The reason why the combat wheelchair was originally created was a good cause. It was funding a drive for something to do with getting wheelchairs for kids.
I think they should have just got money for wheelchairs for kids and fucked off.
Most charities are not worth the cost of the gunpowder it would take to blow them all to hell. You can thank Doug Casey for that wonderful quote. Rudy the Bear Gangrel is a Muslim, non-binary, he-they, Marxist, self-proclaimed materialist, standing up for progressive values and trying to bring vampires into the future. Oh, man.
Well, F.
Yeah, that is not based.
Very not based.
Yeah. Extremely cringe.
Yeah.
But of course, you had a bunch of what I want to be disabled. Two morons on one side and a bunch of no education ass resisting them. Justin, yes, I can actually quite respect that, but I think there were better ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Well, it originally started off as, hey, we've got this STL file you can buy, and it's got a stat sheet, because lol, I don't know what that means. My brain's running a little slow. Last night we had a thunderstorm that started at 3 a.m, which was 2 hours after I went to sleep. And my dog can't handle thunder. Therefore, I didn't get to handle sleep. Then if I remember correctly, WizKids was like, that's a good idea. We'll get in on that charity. At Buttquack, I always felt like the modern hits are close to greatness, but ruin it completely. Season 8 of Game of Thrones ruins the whole show. It's a very fine line, like you said.
Correct.
Stackable mods are a dying design feature.
I'm not sure what that's in reference to.
Stacking modifiers.
What were we talking
Explain
about?
yourself. Give us a little more on that multiverse. I'm about to run an immersive campaign in Red Tide, the Kevin Crawford setting. Highly recommended.
Nice. Not
Very
familiar
cool.
with it, but that is awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. We like immersive games. We have another one here we're going to be taking a look at again. Shadows of Esteren, which
Excellent
is by
game line.
Agate Press or Studio Agate, I think. Studio Agate. They're a French game company. This got translated into English. They've kickstarted a bunch. Like the whole line is available. You can buy it. I didn't know that it was like still available in print, so I bought a copy off of eBay. Thankfully, it was nearly mint condition, except for this tiny little mark right here. But it's awesome. I mean, this is not print on demand, and this is like the art is unified style. It is Gothic medieval art, really, really evocative, really good. And what we really like about it is that it starts off, and we've talked about this game a little bit before, but this is a game that is dedicated to role playing.
Right.
It is the whole first half of the book is the setting, and the setting is presented as like a compilation of in-world documents by different writers. And there's kind of there's a short story at the beginning, like very small intro fiction, that establishes what these documents are and why you're reading them. And it gives you the lay of the land of the whole continent, all the different factions, all the different peoples, and is very, very flavorful. Gives you the whole picture. And we were kind of talking about this because I started reading the mechanics today again. Mechanics are very simple. It's
very easy.
1d10 plus your skill and attribute. Skill and attribute, the names are different in this game, but that's essentially what they are.
Right.
Versus a target number. Combat is like 4 pages of rules.
Yes, it's very simple.
Very simple. And it's made very clear the entire time that role-playing is number one, basically.
Yeah.
And the buy-in on this game, in terms of learning the mechanics, very low.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Please.
And I think the prologue book 0 is that that has rules in it, right? Like that's
I don't remember it. I think it may have sort of a broad overview, but I believe that book, which is one universe, book 1 universe, that has the most that has the core mechanic. The majority of the rules, the core rules, are in that.
Yeah.
I have prologue back at home. But
yeah, the core rules in this book, which is book 1, Universe, very simple. This would not be, from a mechanics standpoint, a hard game to sell for new players.
Not at all.
There's not shitloads of named powers. Like,
no,
it's not exactly rules light. I mean, it's rules like any other game. But
right.
There's just not a ton of stuff in there, which is good in my opinion. This is another thing that we've been talking about, is like, this is also not a hard game. The whole fucking book is rules.
Yeah.
Oh my God, blow my brains out. I don't care about that.
Right.
I care about the setting. I care about the setting, and
there are not rules for
nature.
Dungeon creation or for environmental effects or any of these things. It's here. This is what you need to run the game.
Yeah.
There is a skill list which is comprehensive enough to get over the core activities and skill sets that any person would have in a world. That is it. There are no classes. You choose an ethnicity, cultural background, basically a profession. I don't remember what they call it, some sort of career or a background, which adjusts certain things with regards to skills. You have three. There are three combat attributes: your attack, your defense, and I think it's called your potential. Different things that you can do in combat, and that's really it. There's a very simple, basically a magic system, and there's no strength, dex, and the core 6. Instead, you have just your attributes are called domains. They're very broad aptitudes, from which skills would naturally arise. Like, in D&D, it's the same thing with D&D. Climbing is based off of strength. Acrobatics is based off of dex. Same thing in this game.
Yeah.
And it's just, again, D10 plus your rank, add the modifier
versus target number.
That is it.
Yeah.
That's how combat works. That's all that you need to know. And the rest of it is all dripping with flavor. I've said before that this game by far has the most unified and expertly presented what would you say? Synthesis of setting and of feel.
Yeah, this
is about a particular world and a very specific feel.
Yes.
With a role play focus.
Yes.
And it puts that over every page.
And the genre is actually what they titled their art compilation book, Dark Romanticism, which is awesome. It's so good.
Yeah.
And the art is so good. The layout in this book is amazing.
The writing is excellent.
Is awesome. And so, like we said, with the rules, buy-in is very low for getting new players. They're not going to have to learn some crazy complicated system. It's not unintuitive. The high buy-in comes from the fact that if you're going to play a character in this world, at minimum, you need to know about the place,
what
place
your
in the
character
world.
Would know.
Right.
Yeah.
Where did they come from in the world? What people are they of? Like what kind of faction are they maybe involved in?
Yeah.
Like they kind of have to know a lot of, not a lot, but they have to buy in. They have to have a strong desire to know a little bit about the setting. Yeah. That's where the buy-in comes from. And
this is not just to interject real quick. This is, you need to have a strong, like you said, a strong sense of what your character and their upbringing would inform them of with regards to their world, their community, and other communities.
Right. This
is not a book that has 10,000 years of ancient history.
No.
And 45 different gods that you all did. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's what do I need to know about the here and now in the day-to-day? the history and the backstory. There is a timeline, but it's very broad. It's not useless information, and you, the player, do not need to know. You, the GM, don't even really need to know it to pick up and run a game at all.
Yeah, it's like you might need to know if you're on the border between two regions. You might want to know about the war between those two regions.
Correct.
That happened fairly recently. Yeah, because that affects everything about how the people interact with each other. But it's I am very excited to try that game at some point. It's not going to be for quite a while, because this is one of those games that we're going to be very picky.
The right people.
Yeah, we're going to be very picky about our players.
Correct.
And it is the sort of game, not the genre that we want to do, but it's the sort of game that delivers on that kind of uncompromising immersive vision. That's the sort of thing that we want to make.
Absolutely.
And it's really good. I'm going to be buying the rest of the books in the line. And I will at some point run the immersive Lion and Dragon game as well. I am absolutely dedicated to doing that. And Vampire and like everything.
All those things.
Yeah, we were thinking a lot. Like we were watching not Natural Ones. What's Victor's show? It's not Dutch Oven. It's his other one. One Shots. We were watching One Shots with him and Crossface, and Crossface kind of asked us, like, what are the games you want to play? You know, like, because I've come to the conclusion that I essentially hate D&D.
Same. Yeah. I think he asked what games promote.
Or what games promote the kind of play style that you like. And it was like, we named like 3 or 4 Onyx Path White Wolf games. Threw in Shadows of Esteren. He also said RuneQuest.
Yeah.
And like, really, that's the kind of shit that we want to do. And that's the stuff that we get the most out of. D&D, you can do the immersive gaming with D&D, but it's the whole thing is focused in a direction of it being this game.
Yeah, you're swimming upriver.
Right. If you have Argles. If you just want to play that game, then sure.
There you go.
There it is. But it's like I said on the last stream, like comparing this with this, it's like this is like handing me the fucking technical manual to the washing machine. Like
no contest.
Why would I do that? You know, right. Whereas like this, I'm like, holy shit, I want this.
Yes.
I want to do this. Yeah. Yes, we all get it. You guys are homosexuals. Get on with the goddamn. God damn it! Help my eyes put a filter on that damn Oompa yeah. What makes a game system immersive as opposed to systems that aren't? To me, AD&D 1E is immersive because of the details of the mechanics simulating a fantasy medieval world. See, this is the thing, and I deeply agree with Pundit here. D&D has never done a medieval world. It's this like pseudo medieval American Ren Fair or pulp, like mixed with pulp. Like it never really got to the core of medievalism, and not to sell Pundit's products for him more than we already have, but Lion and Dragon does the medieval thing with D&D very, very, very well. And the thing is, like we said, you can do the immersive style with these games. You can role play in these games, but the kinds of activities that the rules promote in D&D versus the kinds of activities that other games are their mechanics promote are very different. The mechanics of D&D are much more integrated with exploring the world, interacting with like the physical nature of the game, whereas other games are focused on interacting with the other characters in the world. Like that's the primary, like in Vampire, all of the conflict in drama per se comes from your interaction with people and your interaction with other supernaturals. And I mean, I think everybody's done a vampire dungeon crawl in the sewers at some point. That's like inevitable in the in the experience, but it's very much more about interacting with other people, characters, and conflicting motives. And it's not so much about exploring a dangerous physical location, and D&D does that very well. That part of it, and it's not really focused on the character driven stuff. It's not that you can't do it. It's just that when you say, hey, do you guys want to play D&D, you're not thinking like, let's play Game of Thrones or let's play Boardwalk Empire or The Sopranos or something. You're
Right.
thinking something different.
And I would add this. So in the same, yes, D&D has not done a real or an immersive or an accurate or a worthy representation of medievalism.
Yeah, the medieval mindset, and yeah.
But more than that, it also has never succeeded in presenting an accurate or an evocative pulp setting either, as pulp world either, I would argue, because going off of your point, the things that the mechanics imply and encourage you to do, the way in which they are written and the way that they have been interpreted and presented are incredibly artificial to both a realistic medieval world and to a pulp setting as well. Yes, as you said, Matt, you are not interacting with any of the people. You can, but that's not what the game. It's clearly not what the game is about. And you're not interacting and engaging with a strong sense of setting or of world either.
Yeah,
Conan,
at least not in the default D&D manuals. We've said this before.
Right.
If you just buy a D&D manual, like the player's handbook, like you're just getting welcome to fantasy world. It's just it's
fantasy world
kind of generic.
2973.
Yeah, and like my understanding is that Gygax. I mean, it's not my understanding. I read this in the DMG. Basically, he says like start with a very, very small location for your game, like a map of a town. You don't need to know about the broader world. You don't need to know about how the rest of it works, because the players are going to explore the world, and as they basically expand the map and explore new areas, you're going to have to come up with the things surrounding it and the world. Eventually, you have to come up with everything about this world, and it's incrementally and increases over time, but until you're dealing with the entire cosmology, like everything. So there is not an assumed setting necessarily,
which is complete. This loops back into the conversation we had previously regarding backstories. That is not how any world is. You have to have for it to be immersive at all, there has to be at least some sense of at least where you came from and why you were doing anything.
How'd you get to this unexplored area?
Yeah,
like
the world.
You didn't spawn in the safe zone
correctly.
Any direction I go in is unknown. How did I get here?
How did I get here? Right. So it's inherently, the dynamic is by its nature artificial, and it can't really, without considerable work or putting extra effort more than than what's clearly intended in the rules, can you overcome this artificiality. And I don't think you can ever really escape it, certainly not to my satisfaction.
So what you said though about it not having put over like a pulp setting successfully, I'm not sure I agree with that, because a lot of the modules are like weird pulp settings on their own, even if they're very like contained in the small. It's one dungeon and one town or whatever.
I mean, maybe in the modules to a certain degree, but like the rules as such and what people are doing, even Conan as a pulp icon, all of those stories, most of them are isolated short stories. Yes, where you are sort of in medias res in some point in Conan's life, but there is still a sense of not only Conan, which is directly and necessarily informed by his opinion on the world, and you have to have a sense of the world to have an opinion on the world. He is doing what he is doing, not to get loot or just to gain experience. He's doing them sometimes for very different reasons. He's going up the Tower of the Elephant because he's destitute and he's working as a thief, and there's a challenge of something wondrous and mysterious.
Right, Conan is driven by a philosophy.
He's driven by a philosophy, and he himself has an awareness and a very strong opinion of the world. And there are very different cultures and places, nations that he goes to. And he's not just dungeon delving. A lot of his adventures are accidental adventures.
And it's a coherent world that operates on consistent rules and consistent themes. Anyway, so we got way off topic on that one. But what makes this? But let's try if we can actually answer the question instead of just disagreeing with what he said.
But I think
because I don't think we answered the question. What makes a game system immersive as opposed to systems that
it in large part for me, it is so makes a game system. So the mechanics explicitly or implicitly, or a combination thereof, present a general manner of a list of activities that a character is going to be doing in the world. And the more realistic and the more what would you say, the more dramatic, that's probably not the right word to use, but I'll let it be for now. The more that is, the more immersive the system likely also is.
It's like I guess from a mechanics standpoint, it's mechanics that encourage role play. And what I mean by role play is taking on the mindset of a character and making realistic choices within the constraints of that world and within the genre of the world in the game.
Right.
And encouraging you to actually do that and be in character and not be afraid to use your imagination and have a little sincerity.
Right.
So mechanics that reward you really getting into the description of your character, of not of your character, but of your actions. Things that reward people playing their character, like being in character.
Mechanics that touch on or represent aspects of your psychological makeup, sanity, or a vampire has instinct, conviction.
Right.
Requiem has touchstones and ambitions and desires. I believe
you have passions in the within the Ring of Fire.
And
the
in
soliloquy, the soliloquy in within the Ring of Fire. Within Exalted, I mean, in combat, and basically with any role that you're doing, you get what are called stunt dice. These are bonus dice to add to your dice pool, depending on how fucking cool it is that you describe the thing that you're doing. So in combat, if you say something like, I'm going to slash the guy with my sword, you're not getting a bonus die. If you explain in great detail how you're going to run him through with your sword and you're angry and blah blah blah, you'll get a bonus die. If you do something really cool, you might get 2 bonus dice. And if you do something that is earth-shatteringly ridiculous, that involves manipulating multiple parts of the environment, doing attempting things that should be impossible, you'll get a 3rd bonus die on that. And so it's encouraging the characters to actually engage with the world, with the setting, describe what their character is doing beyond just I attack. It's like really getting into the descriptive nature of making the setting more real, making the imaginative space that we're all inhabiting, making it more real. So mechanics that encourage that and allow you to do things like in Vampire the Requiem, there's the Predator's Taint mechanic is fucking awesome. because it gives you certain abilities in which you can push people and manipulate them, whether it's through using your nature, the nature of your beast in its seductive form, in its predatory aspect. There's one more. I'm not remembering what it is off the top of my head, but it's about getting in there and describing and encouraging you to use this part of yourself to impose your will on the world. It's
V5 has predator types.
Right.
How you're possibly hundreds of years old as a vampire. You feed every single night. You surely have developed habits and patterns of doing this. How are you getting blood? The hunger mechanic is excellent. It keeps that aspect, which is core to vampire, the blood of the hunger for the blood, in mind for every single role that you do. These are the things. Mechanics that try to anchor you to a world and to a character and rather than being artificial
and work within the genre. It's the same thing with like Wretched role-playing game it's essentially its alignment system is the 7 deadly sins. It's encouraging you to engage in these vices. It's giving you bonuses and also drawbacks for playing into the sleazy nature of the game. It'll reward you if you do sleazy things. That'll give you bonuses on your rolls. So it encourages the player. There's a system incentive for people to act in accordance with the atmosphere of the game. So that's what makes it more immersive to me, because anything that is getting people to engage as the character, as opposed to engage with simply like the world, I guess, like the difference being between like D&D, like you're saying, it's got this kind of very explicit detail in the simulationist kind of aspect of this thing, where we've got very explicit rules for combat, very explicit rules for traversal of the world, for tracking encumbrance, for doing all those things. Like that is encouraging the kind of behavior that game is anticipating and is.
And this is why system matters, which we mentioned.
Yes, but this is exactly why we say system matters, because it's the skeleton on which everything hangs and is going to orient you in whatever world and whatever game you're playing. And it's just that I find that stuff. It's not that you can't do the immersive thing, but those mechanics are not immersive, are not getting me using my imagination as to the getting into the mindset of the character in the world.
Correct.
As opposed to kind of it seems more of like a rote just description of the thing that I can do, as opposed to
well, you're just trying to move. You're just trying to move through the video game. Is sort of how
That's how it feels.
That's how it feels.
Yeah,
and that is what is, I would say, encouraged.
Yeah,
you have the longest portion of certainly 3.0 onward. Maybe not 5th edition. I don't know, but feats. Most of them are combat related, or they exist in absence of any real context or explanation or immersion in how these things would manifest. Even the ones, I get a +2 to my diplomacy roll, which is not combat related, but again, that's less artificiality, more anchoring yourself in the character.
Yeah. Character focused as opposed to gameplay
focused.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a very long, that was a good question.
Great question.
That was a very good question. Onion Kid 99. It was the most bizarre method of mutual diablerie I've ever seen.
So Rudy.
Yeah.
Would not know. Sounds terrible.
That setting is the tits. Ran a 1-year campaign in it, and that was in response to
Red Tide. Okay,
Red
cool.
Tide.
Don't know anything about it, so worth checking out potentially.
And welcome Taffer's Tower. I forgot to say hello to you as well. Welcome S. Cherry, Justin, everybody.
Yes.
We forget ourselves. We're being rude. A serious question. Does that tan qualify as cultural appropriation?
Yes.
He is Italian.
I am.
Yeah. For a guy that hates OSC so much, why do you keep a book at arm's length at all times? I don't know. Because
we were talking about it and you never put it back.
And I never put it back. Yeah, and it's good to have a couple of different books on hand for show and tell. And this one is one that continually allows me to make a point over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, I do hate it, but I don't, it's not that like, I'm like, this game sucks. It's just like, it's the crystallization of everything that I am not drawn to in role-playing.
You're never going to run it. You're never going to
I will never run OSC. Yeah. I will literally never run OSC. At Multiverse DM, stacking mods constantly is mentally draining versus stacking mods that are passive / persistent would work better, no? I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it. I don't know what the difference is between.
I don't know what
passive
I'm not sure what you mean.
Be, but I guess passive would basically be
the
same thing as permanent.
We are not as giga-brained as you're giving us credit for. So
yeah,
even though that was.
I mean, if you are talking about doing constant, as you say, bean counting. On the fly, round by round, scene by scene. I have a +2 in this now. I have a -3 in this now.
Yeah.
But I also have this other book. I have a. God, geez, what are the? I have a luck bonus, a magic bonus, and a fucking. I don't remember what the 3-0 Pathfinder. The different types of bonuses. I have one that's a penalty, and that's awful.
Yeah. So actually, we got to come back to this for just a moment. Thank you, Tapper's Tower, for this. So this is a perfect example of our kind of the difference of our philosophy. Was we watched a movie this last week called Barbarian. It's a horror film that takes place in Detroit, and it's pretty. The first half is pretty creepy, and then it gets really goofy. Highly recommend Barbarian.
Yes.
And recommend going into it with as little information as you can. But in Barbarian, there is a segment where we both looked at each other and we're like, this is a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
And this is what we're saying. Like we've said multiple times, like, why would you ever go into a dungeon? Because it's going to be this horrible, like literally terrifying, horrifying experience. And people are like, well, you just don't understand what heroism is. And it's like, no. It's like, we finally clicked. It was like, no. Because what we think a dungeon crawl is getting into we've played a lot of horror games as well, which may be just a bias here, but it's like, what if you were in a very dangerous cave that had no light and was full of actual literal fucking monsters? It would not be, if you took the world in a more realistic direction than say like a pulp fantasy adventure or even Conan, like it's a much scarier, darker, like crazier experience than what.
And even Conan, a lot of the times.
There's the one where he fights like the frog in the city that's out in the middle of the fucking desert
But he is not going into this thing into these situations. He's either through circumstance being trapped in certain circumstances, or he's going into a situation which only once he's in too far to back out does he realize the extent of the danger or whatever. I'm sure there's an example that is contrary to it, but to my mind. You're not here is the entrance to the.
But the other thing is Conan is an exceptional individual.
But that's what I'm saying. Even Conan isn't doing this for no reason to get the extra 75 gold.
Right,
pieces.
exactly. He's not going in to get the extra 75 gold pieces. Yeah. Right. No, your point. I get what you're saying now. That is exactly correct. And if in the games that we like to play, a lot of times we like to play people who are. Not necessarily ordinary, but I like genres where you are playing somewhat regular people. You're not playing like it really depends, because that's not true. I mean, I love Exalted. There's lots of games where I do like
your character has a basis in reality.
Right. Yeah. Your character has a basis in reality. You're not playing, Gilgamesh or Hercules or even Conan or something like that.
Yeah.
because I like that. It getting in the mindset of
And
someone
even-
who seems more real.
Right. And even if you wanted to play Gilgamesh, a dungeon crawl is the shittiest presentation. Gilgamesh would not be in a dungeon crawl.
Right. But this is where it's just our worldview on role-playing games is very, very different than the people in the OSR, because it's like, it's the barbarian dungeon crawl versus like Conan killing the big snake in when they're stealing jewels and stuff.
Right.
Both are cool. I love Conan, but man, oh man, when I think like, why would anyone go into the dungeon? It's because of Barbarian. Like it's that sort, or like The Descent, if you've seen that movie.
Yeah.
Also a very good example of why you don't go into fucking caves. This is actually right where we left off. I designed a multiverse so that world builders have design freedom, but also responsibility. Cool. I think you're the guy who contacted us on Twitter. I will look at your stuff someday. I'm sorry. We've been very busy.
Yeah. Will do.
Yeah, we will do that.
Absolutely.
I want an accurate representation of the sort of truth in role-playing games. In truth in role-playing game form, does anyone have that?
I want an accurate representation of the sort of truth in role-playing game form. In this sort of truth,
I don't know what the fuck
sure.
you're saying, man. Yeah. I still like classic Faerun. It's got a really immersive geography, and I found the gods pretty easy to rework to be good.
I'm willing to concede that. I mean, everything setting wise, I think
even art wise. I mean, like you look back,
definitely.
You look at the art from Forgotten Realms in the 80s and 90s. It's really fucking cool.
It was less bloated and less corporate.
Yeah, exactly. I just don't like modern Forgotten Realms, I guess. I probably wouldn't like original Faerun as well. Like I'm sure it's much cooler, but
it still wouldn't be.
It's just not my thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's
agreed.
I only like lead-based pink chips. I fucking love eating lead paint, dude. Nice. Based. Based and paint pilled. An idea not written down doesn't exist, Justin. Try drinking the paint. It's literally a quote from a paper I wrote in college.
Nice.
Mage 20 is actually really good and easier to understand than you might think if you just take it piece by piece. Also, 20th anniversary really loosened up the meta plot and made it a lot more nuanced. I'm only familiar again with.
It's also the size of a phone book.
Yeah. With Vampire 20th, but that was a great restatement of the game. So I'm sure that it was for Mage as well. That was back when they were doing,
it was still
$250,000, $2 million Kickstarters.
Yeah, and weren't fucking it up.
Can we get a link to the video you're speaking about? What video were we talking
about? We had the Onyx Path thing?
Yeah, let me put that in the chat.
Ugh.
It's really bad, guys.
If only you knew how bad things were out there.
I mean, let's see if it lets me put links in there. What was it? It was
Onyx. It was the Onyx Path. No, it was their convention, their online convention.
Yeah, I'll know it by the thumbnail because it's got all those fucking harpies in it. This one.
Yeah. God, there's another.
Copy. Coming in the chat, and I just gotta get rid of the timestamp, so we'll go to the beginning. Okay, should be there. I think you're right about immersive TTRPGs. Too many seem more focused on gameplay. With D&D 5e, I always end up focusing on my build first and roleplay second, and will be annoyed if either is lacking. Yeah, that's
there's the mechanics incentivize
the kinds of characters and the kinds of behaviors you're gonna do.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. And I think if you get the player's handbook out, that's all it is your character options, your rules. It's not telling you anything about the kind of character
apart
you're
from
like. There is implied backstory to all of them,
but it's very little. It's like the amount of writing you get on the back of a cereal box for who your character is and where they came from, where they even could come from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's more focused on the game aspect of it, and that's the still important but less important thing than the role-playing aspect of it for us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a role-playing game, not a game with role-playing.
Yeah, not a board game or a war game with role-play elements.
Right, exactly.
Even if that is how it came about. It is not
right
what
and
it
that's
is now.
and that's the big
Something
thing.
else we're going to be talking about.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's like you look at like the guy who wrote the Tonisborg thing. What's this movie called? Secrets of Blackmore.
Yeah.
We feel like the OSR people took the exact wrong lessons.
Yeah, all the wrong
literally
lessons.
exact wrong lessons from Secrets of Blackmore, because it's like they worked their way backwards from playing war games into inventing something new and something different. Yes, it was still influenced by their wargaming history,
right.
But this is fundamentally a different experience than playing a war game. Playing a role-playing game as a single character is not the same as playing a Napoleonic scenario or
right.
Warhammer 40K or anything like that. And that's fine. Like I'm not actually against war games. I always wanted to play Warhammer, but it was too broke.
Not against war games or board games, but they are different things.
They are different things. And this is they created a totally new and unique thing that had never been,
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that makes that great is the role playing. It is the immersive experience that you get out of it. And so if you want your game to be better, if you want your role-playing game to be better, the idea that it's like we have to go back, we have to return. don't forget the incredible insight, wargaming insights that Gygax had. And it's like no, that's like completely wrong. That you're going in the wrong direction. Just play a war game.
Just play a war game. It's going to do the job much better.
Much better.
And I made this comment to you. Like it's. We're not denying the lineage here, but just like, birds evolved from dinosaurs or whatever the fuck, if you know what I'm talking about.
If you believe
in evolution, which is, if you believe in evolution and that we don't have to live under a firmament,
mm-hmm.
That they are part of the same family tree. One came from the other. They are two different species.
Yeah.
Very different things. No one would get them confused.
Right. Exactly. Italian and Irish. Are we going to talk about Catholicism again? We'll see.
We'll see.
Thor is high tech.
Yes.
Sea magic.
Right.
All post 2020 games need fast visual learning tools.
Probably for the
quick play starting material. Yeah. I mean, I think that's actually I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah, I don't know that that's necessary, but I think that's just generally good practice to have your rules, certainly the character creation, and the core die mechanic be simple enough to fit on a single page.
Yeah, I mean, have and be able to show how it works visually as well with diagram. That makes sense. Spirit stuff. Networking, telecommunication, Wi-Fi. I'm assuming, Wi-Fi.
These are all the 21st century, like the technologies.
Portals to talk through. RPGs are emulators, not simulators. Yeah, I agree. The left destroys only. This is also correct. The left marches until somebody throws a pink triangle on their ass. I don't know what that means, but it's funny. I said I feel bad for the punk rock libs, not that I agree with them. I also feel bad for people who send money to Nigerian princes. They're still stupid, though. Yeah, big truth.
Yeah.
Identity RPGs all suck. Oh, emulation is replacing the stacking math speak in games much faster. What is this French you speak of? Oh, I understand you mean demon. If WotC gets a hold of it, it will be Shadows of Estrogen.
Nice.
Very nice, Buck. Right? Emulation still has stacking, just the right kind of stacking, not 1980s stacking. On the topic of fantasy, magic, and high tech, a lot of this discussion is helped by identifying your desired fantasy subgenre. Yes. Arthur C. Clarke's Third Law points to one subgenre. Primeval fantasy, a very different one.
Mm-hmm.
OSC is for nerds. Big true. Not role players.
Correct.
Agreed. Which, yeah, that's why I just don't like that game. 21st century fantasy. Bottle Cap may be Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, works since it uses modern physics with its magic system. Mistborn Era 2 is a Western with magic. It has its issues, though.
Maybe. I did not like...
Congrats on the Buc-ee's sponsorship.
If only.
I'm pretty illiterate when it comes to most rule systems other than Within the Ring of Fire, but OSC seems fine. It just sucks that there's no setting. That's the problem. Yeah. Like that's the thing. And this is why I can't hate on this book too much, because like I said previously, it does what it's set out to do very, very well. It's a restatement.
I just don't want to do that.
I just don't want to do that. Exactly.
Right.
Like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
What is my first rule when it comes to writing rules? If you can't fit them on 15 pages, you've done fucked up. Yes.
Yep.
Big true. You guys have now officially arrived. You're getting trolled by Shauner now, whose role-playing ability was recently described as complete trash.
Damn.
Who is climbing that mountain? Wow, he's calling it shots fired on Shauner. We're not getting trolled.
Yeah.
We like Shauner.
Yeah, we like
Shauner likes us.
Great. Yeah.
Magic and science being separate. In science, there are mostly knowns with few pitfalls / unknowns. Magic can be mostly unknown where few aspects are understood, aka hard and soft magic in the world.
Well, I have to think about that, but that seems like I would not disagree with it too much.
Well, we kind of talked about this the other day when we were talking about magic being like still possible that you can discover new magic. And it's like Mordenkainen's magical watchdog or whatever.
Yeah, it may as well be science.
Yeah. Well, it's not that it may as well be science, but it's like you could you don't expect that magic has been fully explained and explored, because at that point it is just science.
Right.
The mysteries of magic could still be discovered. You could make your own magical watchdog spell that's different than Mordenkainen's.
And you should.
Yeah. You're not doing a vampire dungeon crawl in a sewer if you aren't lifting up an actual sewer grate. Yeah. It's the immersive LARP. Hey, what's up? Of course, just got home from work. Well, glad you're here, 28mm.
Yeah.
Always glad to have you. Wandering Mage. Using physics to throw a magical fireball instantly makes the magic fireball knowable. Yeah, I mean, if you don't make it like devoid of physics.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very fine line.
You can't get away from physics because you can't get away from the physical limitations of the world as we know them.
Right, and that doesn't need to be presented in a materialistic science way, but for any world to be cogent, because even if you don't have a physics degree, we all implicitly know and live in a world with gravity. Right?
Exactly. And a world without gravity would still be operating under some sort of physical laws. Right. Right. So we have very big brains. That's what I'm saying.
I will say, just very, very quickly, it's not 21st century, but oh God, what was the name? The video game, Arcanum of Steamwork and Magic Obscura.
Yeah.
Great game. I have nothing more to say. Just play that game.
It's really cool. Most, not all magic should be unknowable or unknown. Agreed.
I agree.
I like mystery.
This is why I did not like Mistborn.
Hello, Mr. Max.
Hey.
We
tuned into your vehicular combat stream.
Right, and we were a few minutes late to ours because we were watching yours. So if somehow you guys are not subscribed to Mr. Max, please go to his channel.
What are you doing?
Yeah, he makes very good content. Shauner says AD&D 1E simulates nothing. It's pseudocode for home computers to use later, if anything. Yeah,
yeah. This is another thing. I don't like this term, but the gameplay loop, the dungeon crawl, what you're typically getting up to in an OSR game, by and large, video games just do that better. Yeah. It's something that medium excels in. There are things which movies can do that TTRPGs can't do, and vice versa. That's also something that we'll be talking about.
Something we will be talking about. is basically that like the unique things that tabletop role playings do, that war games do not do, that movies do not do, that books do not do.
Yes.
Those are the things, like the core aspect of that. That's the attractive thing about role-playing games.
Right.
And for us, that is the immersive experience. You can't do things in a video game that you can do in a TTRPG and vice versa. So there's doesn't mean those other things are bad. It just means
they're their
that
own
if you're
thing.
if you're moving in the direction of those things and trying to combine those into the experience of the role-playing game, you are diminishing the role-playing game.
You're diminishing it.
You're diminishing both, honestly.
You're diminishing it, and it's just an exercise in frustration.
Yeah. It's the wrong direction to go in.
Yep.
What happened to Nick? Is he far away or much smaller than Matt?
Yeah.
Well, both.
Both.
I am indeed closer to the camera, but I am also quite a bit taller than Nick.
Quite a bit taller.
Yeah.
Yes.
Usually when I explain the RPG concept to people, I start them off as a character with amnesia, waking up in a mysterious stone room.
Sounds like something that the X card will have to be.
Yeah. Hey, Mr. Max and Shauner. Buckquack again, throwing us that hard-earned cash.
God.
Man, you must be rich or something. I hope you're rich, because if you're not.
And he's hopefully paying for dinner for his dear mother.
Yes, exactly.
Be nice to your mom.
Yeah, but we always appreciate getting those super chats. We very much appreciate that. Dinner with my mother will return later. Thank you for that. Enjoy your dinner with your mother.
Yes.
And if you're back right now, because we're always catching up on the chat by a lot. Don't give us your life savings.
Yeah.
I mean, do, but don't. We have to be polite. Everything's bigger in Texas. Nick will grow into a real boy now. Well, that's true. Actually, we're gonna I'm gonna get back to the gym, and Nick and I are gonna be squat, press, and deadlifting all the time.
Fuck yeah!
So I am super pumped about that.
Lol.
Conan's a cuck. He doesn't believe in the glories of slavery. Buc-ee's, nice. That's right.
Yep.
I'm from Canada. Texas is small.
But look what you've done with it all.
Yeah, I know. You all live within 90 miles of the American border, except for maybe Mr. Max. Cameras can make you look smaller if you sit back from the person in the forefront.
True.
Yeah. It's the wide-angle lens. Roleplay, kill stuff and get XP for it. Yeah. Shauner, you've just given the best definition of roleplay
ever.
Bottle cap, agreed. While Brandon Sanderson's magic systems are still an outside force that interact with physics, he also makes them measurable and repeatable, which leads to same issue of no ability.
Yeah.
Hello, Rick, talking to 28mm, I believe. Brandon Sanderson is a trash writer.
And a Mormon.
And you should feel bad. The D20 is a luck die, immersion proof. Yeah, I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
I really hate the D20.
Great term. Yeah. Immersion proof mechanics.
It would have been better for the estate of Robert Jordan to hire a literally homeless guy to finish off the Wheel of Time, or maybe somebody that works for Amazon.
I never got into the Wheel of Time. I started the first book and I got bored.
I was a serious Wheel of Time enjoyer in high school. I read up through, I think, the 10th book, or maybe the 11th was what was published at the time. And by that point, though, I was getting tired of it, because there's a certain point where it's like Robert Jordan doesn't know what to do anymore. And and it's so clear that he's like, the direction becomes totally aimless, and he's introduced so many characters and continues introducing more and more characters. This Game of Thrones is the same fucking thing, that he literally, you read 1,000-page book, the next one comes out, and you read that 1,000-page book, and all it did was catch up some side characters up to the end of the previous book. The timeline did not advance. Right. I was like, what the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Oh, and I never finished it, but I did end up reading the plot synopses on like Wikipedia or whatever the Cliff Notes is. So I know how it goes down and how it ends. Enneagrams encourage role playing. Yeah, we still got to check those out.
Yeah.
Multiverse DM is L. I don't think so. Multiverse, if you're talking about L, the guy that we banned, I very much doubt that. Multiverse has always been quite polite. L was just annoying and was sniping at our chat. Sleazy, easy, and diseasy. That's a long reply to one chat.
Yep.
He didn't even super chat. Thanks for the thoughtful answer. It's got me thinking about immersive role playing.
Good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the question. That was really good. That was a really good question. We talked for like 20 minutes about it. So quality stuff. OSE, where's my fireplace? Yes, I only have 4 jokes. That's more jokes than most comedians.
Yeah.
I make up for it with a quality dearth of cat girls. Multiverse DM has an interesting channel. See if you can understand any of it.
Will do.
We'll do.
Yeah.
It's actually,
let's subscribe right now.
I didn't know he had Multiverse DM. Whoops, knocking over. There we go.
All right.
Subscribed.
Oh.
Okay. Mr. Max loves crawling in the dungeon via theater of the mind. Light, the most underused element of D&D.
Right, because it's been completely neutered because everyone has dark vision now.
Yeah. Which is probably why Shadow Dark was so novel. Yeah. Because it got rid of dark vision.
Or even Torchbearer.
Yeah.
Which I've never played and never will play. But
to me, the best systems are the ones that have a lot of character creation depth and using a simple die resolution mechanic. Yeah, I enjoy that.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. But from the perspective of running a game, because generally I'm not playing with people that are as dedicated to this as like Nick and I are, or presumably a lot of you. Simple, fast character creation is a boon to getting people to play. Like we just since our Lion and Dragon game ended with a TPK, and we did last time we did just character creation, a session 0, if you will, for Wretched Epoch. One of my friends was saying, he's like, yeah, these games are fun, but like the fact that like the style of games that we're playing now are like very, very deadly. He's like, the cost of dying is like, I gotta make another fucking character. It's like if you know the rules,
right,
then it's not a high cost
for those games.
Yeah. Yes. But these players are a little more casual, and so they're not going to spend their extra their free time just reading books, RPG books. It's more like, hey, let's show up, let's play this game. And they still role play and they do all of that, but they're not going to, outside of game time, spend a ton of time reading those, with the exception of one of my players who is going to DM Lion and Dragon very soon, which is awesome.
Very exciting.
And wouldn't you know, it's a female gamer.
Female girl.
We're out of the dungeon now. Nice. Nerds. Yep. Perseus and the Minotaur, hero that literally does a dungeon crawl. Yeah.
Yeah, but he didn't do it for loot. he didn't do it for economic gain.
Yeah, he didn't do it so he could train to level up.
Wasn't Perseus thrown in the labyrinth?
I don't remember.
It's been a long time. I don't think I've read that since high school.
Lead paint tastes sweet. Not even kidding. Try it. Lead is a killer seasoning. Romans used lead salts as sweetener foods. The Sword of Truth was a book series by Terry Goodkind. Yeah, that's the one that's like libertarianism or like individualism versus communism, right? Is like the theme.
I read the first 3 books in Sword of Truth.
Oh yeah, this is the link to the horrible Onyx Path 1 hour Longhouse stream. Yeah. Justin Thor LPs has the best cat girls. You degenerates. I left for 10 minutes for the safety tools video. I was dying. I died, now I'm dead. Yeah, like I couldn't believe how fucking bad it was. I heard the opening music. I'm already regretting it. I thought you hated these guys.
I hope not.
I hope not too. I really never checked them out. Oh, cool. Well,
Hungar,
welcome, Hungar.
I think Hungar is the DM James' brother, I believe.
Oh, okay. Well, and if you do hate us, that's fine too.
That's fine too.
Yeah, we don't. We like you guys, but we don't really care. You know, we've got thick skins. I don't care for explicit settings in rule books. Make it an implicit settings. Let your rules tell me about the world. Oh man, I super disagree.
Yeah, I mean, there are exceptions. There are rare exceptions where, I have found that to be true. But by and large, I want an explicit setting. The most implicit, generally speaking, that comes to mind. We've been talking a lot about this world as well. Something like Stalker, which you don't necessarily have to have the zone as the zone in fiction or the video games or what have you, but a ruined world where a mysterious, inexplicable phenomenon is happening. You can sort of do whatever in that world, but you have this overlay of horror and mystery on it. And you don't need to, and in fact, in some ways, it's better that you don't get particularly specific. But apart from something like that, I would disagree.
Yeah. I mean, I disagree a lot because the things that get my imagination going, is the setting, because it's like, what kind of character do I want to role play within this? And the mechanics matter. I mean, they tell you a lot about what your character can do, but
and the setting has to be written well. The setting has to be good. You're talking about the Forgotten Realms. I would much prefer that Forgotten Realms was pared back like 80% and was much more vague, because that's the only way. It's so overburdened, it's so bloated, that something that already was uninteresting to me now is intolerable to me.
Right. Yes.
So
I agree. Hungar the Starvarian, watch one of their live plays as
please
well.
Do.
Yeah, please do. I still haven't fucking.
You still
We played our third Cyberpunk session like
3 months ago.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's been like 8 weeks. I'm like, I'm just gonna make a thumbnail. I still haven't done it. Oh, man, I gotta put that up. The first physical law of a world without gravity. Fuck, that wall hurts. Yeah. A lot of people in the TTRPG hobby have genre derangement syndrome.
True.
One guy now has 25% of his content about fake role player genre. Fucking cringe.
Yeah.
Who? That's funny.
Yeah. Do you want to watch and laugh at them?
Yeah. Amen, brother. Immersive rules. Example, roll your passion dice to persuade a target, lose X renown. If you avoid rolling when negotiating, gain a fate die, is one of the rules I am trying.
Okay. I'm interested.
Is this the fate system? I don't know what system this is in reference to.
I don't know if he's stated.
Yeah.
Or maybe no, there's no renown in Ring of Fire. So I don't know.
The point of the amnesia guy in a room is to get the new person who doesn't know what an RPG is familiar with the concept of doing something instead of asking what to do. Yeah, that makes sense. That's a pretty good.
I would say it is a good idea, but the issue of the Mother May I is not a role playing issue. In some ways it's an out of game. I think it's an out of game social issue first. Yeah, I think you will still have to remind people because they're unsure, they don't know what they're doing. Hey, can I go here? You can do anything you want. Just say what you.
Can I touch you here?
Is that okay? Yeah.
Do you like that?
Yeah. See, as you know, Mother May I prevents you from scoring in the dating world as well.
Yeah.
No woman likes that. So
Yeah.
follow Shauner's advice and get laid.
Yeah. The Wheel of Time breaks my suspension of disbelief. A functional all-women organization? Come on. Well, I mean, they do end up destroying themselves essentially, and they're known as being explicitly like manipulators of like kings and whatnot. I get what you're saying, like, but they do become very failed throughout the course of the books. You should unban L. I don't know how. Because the first time I tried to ban him, I deleted his comment, which I didn't mean to do. I meant to just ban him. So if you could explain to me how to unban him, I'll consider it. But why? Why should I unban him? I feel like he was being kind of a jerk to people in the chat.
Yeah.
Which is, if you want to be jerks to us, we're totally fine with that.
Oh yeah.
But it didn't sit right that I felt like he was making fun of people in the chat, and not in a like kind of friendly way. It was like, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
I guess I should probably get Lion and Dragon. Yeah, I mean, I like it. I like it a lot. It's a setting that really works for me. Very simple rules. I mean, it's D20, which I don't like, but it
makes up for it.
Makes up for it with the atmosphere and with the attention to the authenticity of the medieval period.
Agreed.
Which I really, really like. I like the condition mechanic in Torchbearer. I think it has a good idea for a pure dungeon crawl RPG, but you can do more with RPGs.
Right.
Yeah.
Torchbearer is specifically, I guess, in a similar way to Shadow Dark. I think Torchbearer probably does a better job of it. This is just about the experience of the dungeon crawl, and it is, from what I can recall, it is unapologetically more. It's game first, role play second, I think. So you have explicit it's Torchbearer. You go through. It's like Darkest Dungeon.
Yeah.
You have torches that burn out, and it's a resource component of the game.
I highly recommend you introduce this female to some Viagra and see if it rises. Yeah, I'm gonna give a guy some pills and then stare at his dick. For $5.39, Written Lies says, "Do you like guacamole?"
I don't know if this is a euphemism.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a euphemism. I do like guacamole.
Yeah.
For the cause. Do you like guacamole for the cause?
This must be for the cause of the mission from God. If so, thank you. But if this is a reference, we are stupid and did not get it.
Gotcha. I am his brother.
Yeah.
So for DM
yeah, I've
James.
seen you on DM James' stream.
Okay.
Before.
Never seen this channel before. Just showed up in my feed 5 minutes ago and seeing what's up. Nice.
Well, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome. We like talking about immersive role-playing games and talking trash and being right about things.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it. Stalker sounds badass. Stalker is awesome. It's a really it's mostly a setting book because it does have a system of mechanics, but it's diceless, and I didn't like the system at all. But the world is so good. Awesome. And it is, if you want to do an easy way to do an immersive role-playing experience dungeon crawl, the zone is the most dangerous dungeon. Yeah.
You don't know anything. You cannot know anything.
And it's not a counterexample. It's actually it's a stronger example in favor of what we talked about. But the rules of the zone don't make sense and are subject to change. And that is it. That's why it's such a scary place. Is because it
can't map it out.
So unpredictable. Yeah, and it will forever change you. It's also not a great game for a long-term campaign, I think. But I would agree. Great palate cleanser. Yeah. Great for a 1 to 3 shot game. Hungar, I and a guy named Shadow have a show Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at noon or something, depending on your time zone, over on Hungar's channel. We must be subscribed to Hungar then, because I've seen you guys. I've popped in once or twice. Welcome, Reziel. I dislike explicit settings because 90% of them are dumb. Big true.
Very true.
and not thought through.
100% agree.
Yes, I 100% agree. Also, I like to do my own settings as we play with the input of the players.
I mean, if you're doing your own thing, we are definitely in favor of homebrew settings.
That's
tell us yours.
especially if you've got good players that contribute interesting ideas, and that's awesome.
Correct.
Sanderson is a good writer who 20 or 30 years ahead of his peers because he's that much younger and writes 1,000 times faster too. Problem is he's further along in the bad fantasy writing evolution.
He's going in going the right way in the wrong direction somehow. I'm doing great at being shit.
Don't be sexist. Being sexist is wrong, and being wrong is for women.
Well, you've run rings around us logically. Well done.
The Aes Sedai are a functional organization. I must have read a different Wheel of Time. It's presumed that they're functional for like the 1,000 years prior to the start, at which point they all start acting like women and everything falls apart. The joke of El is that he's making fun of people in the chat.
Well, if it's meant to be a joke.
Okay. Also, I'm pretty sure he's a bot. Wandering Mage? No, I didn't read it. The synopsis kept me away. Mr. Max, the first 50 Wheel of Time books are pretty okay, but after that, they kind of drag on.
Nice.
It was good, Mr. Max, but not their best or as great as some claim. Tolkien remains the king. I don't really like high fantasy. I definitely prefer low fantasy. I was big into TTRPGs when I was younger, but stopped playing for like 20-ish years. Showed back up to find D&D sucks, and there's something called the OSR. So, of course, I decided to DM. Started off using Knave first edition for simplicity, but planned to transition to something meatier later. Nice. Well, we're glad that you're back in the hobby.
Yeah, many such cases with people walking away. Yeah. We ourselves are sort of just returning, at least to talking about games.
But I mean, I hadn't played in probably 3 years. No, that's not true, because I played in a Ring of Fire game with you, hosted by Lou, like maybe 2 years ago.
Which one was that?
That was the one where I was playing the retarded dwarf.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and that's what kind of kicked off us talking about games again.
Yeah. That's right.
And then it had been like maybe 2 or 3 years prior to that too. So I have taken several years-long breaks in between games, simply because I refuse to play with the wrong people anymore.
Correct.
It's a mistake I will never make again, because it just makes you hate the hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes it much, much better when you find the right people.
Absolutely.
Reziel, welcome back to the hobby. Yeah.
Agreed. Welcome back.
Yeah, that's awesome. What? Let's see. You're playing Knave for simplicity, but plan to transition to something meatier later.
He's DMing Knave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you consider meatier? I've never played Knave. I ordered the 2nd edition Kickstarter, but I like the idea of using a mashup of OSE and Hyperborea. I need to read Hyperborea. Everyone says it's like great.
Yeah, I think I don't remember if they kickstarted it or crowdfunded it, but I know, if I recall, and DM James has talked about this game. He's talked about Axe, Adventure Conqueror King, and he's talked about astonishing swordsmen and sorcerers of Hyperborea, which I think is now just Hyperborea. But I definitely want both games. I really want Adventure Conqueror King because, in large part, because DM James has spoken so highly of it. Definitely on my list. My ever-growing list.
I really enjoyed Mr. Max's talk with Alexander McCrease, talking about Axe 2nd edition coming up. That is one I will definitely be supporting on Kickstarter. Speaking of Kickstarters, Basic Experts Makwahitl is successfully funded at over $10,000 now.
So now you can,
like an hour or two ago,
give him more money. You will definitely get your product now.
Yes. So go, if you have not backed the Basic Experts Kickstarter for Makwahitl, White Box Aztec role playing, go do so now.
Yeah.
It is. We've seen the PDF, and it is excellent.
And he's talked about, I think the other day, and previously talked about the game as well. We did a stream about it a few weeks ago, and he has done some as well.
Right, and he just did one on Diversity and Dragons yesterday.
Yes.
That was pretty good. Always choose no gaming over subpar gaming.
Correct.
Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Yeah, I only have the second edition player's handbook for Hyperborea. Got to throw some Conan influence in, and my campaign is classical rather than medieval.
Okay.
Nice.
Excellent.
I'll definitely get Acts 2.
Yeah,
I will too. I mean, again, it's like, I know it's it has a lot of the old school principles behind it, but from the amount of playtesting that he said he had done in your interview, it sounds fucking awesome. And I like that he kind of solved the issue of magic in like large scale combat. So you can have these massive like Agincourt style battles, like historical battles without magic becoming nukes or air support. And it sounds very, very interesting. So I'm excited. I'm not going to get Axe First Edition because why? I'll just wait a little longer and get the goods.
Yeah, same.
And I backed
Excellent.
Nice.
So did we.
As did we. Yeah. I think I definitely did the offset print. I might have done the one that has like that and the print on demand. I'm not sure.
I got the red and black hardcover with the PDF.
I paid whatever the expensive version was.
Yeah, same.
I think I threw in $100 because like I picked the top reward tier and then I went up to 100. But Axe is a very good game. Yeah.
Good to know. We are always interested in more good games.
Yeah. Yeah. More games than we'll ever have time to feasibly play.
Yeah. But
yeah.
Good problem to have.
Yeah.
But
anyway, we're a little over time.
Yeah. We made it to the end of
our typical 2 hours. Axe looks interesting. Definitely we'll get the second edition.
Big agree.
Big agree. But I am running out of steam. And I think we're going to call it quits.
Yeah.
We played for about a year or so.
Nice.
Well, welcome to the new people.
Thank you for joining in.
Starvarian. I think we got a couple more in here. And thank you to our regulars, and to Written Lies and to Buttquack for the super chats. We really do appreciate it. And we will be talking to you guys soon.
Yeah, very soon. So enjoy, everybody.
Cool.
Have a good one.
Keep an eye out for you all again. Thank you. Yes, please subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Subbed. Nice. All right.
Thank you very much.
Now I'm pressing end stream. Good night, guys.
Take care.